Hey there, today I have an update on our tiny house slash YouTube studio. Hey there, my name is Yami. I am your Latina next door. Welcome back to Mi Casa. It is a pretty bright day today, so I'm gonna be squinting a little bit here and there. It's partly cloudy, a little hazy outside. The rooster that I love is crowing in the background, so you might hear him here and again. Before we start, I'm sure you're probably wondering why my curtains are bunched up like this right behind me. And that's because we have a new member of our family. We decided to get a puppy. We have a new member of the family, and we were very lucky to have found him when we did. I came across a Facebook post here recently of a young couple. They're so sweet. Their dogs had a litter and she was trying to find them good homes. And we were excited to go and see the remaining pups that she had because they were going really fast. My husband decided to go ahead and just do it and start training them. We have never trained a puppy before. It's my first time. It's his first time training a puppy. And that's why these are this high, because he's particularly interested in these curtains whenever he's out here. So we had to kind of like raise them all so that he couldn't reach them and, just mess with them. And our kids absolutely love him. And if you're wondering if our Chihuahua gets along with him, you should have seen the side eye that she gave us when we brought him home. She's probably one of the chillest Chihuahuas you'll ever meet. She's actually pretty calm, unless there's like the mailman or somebody driving by. She barks and chases after them. Other than that, she's actually a pretty calm dog. And now we brought a little brother for her, and she's trying to deal with him. She doesn't like to be messed with, but every once in a while they'll play around, and other times she'll just growl at him to get away from her. It's been kind of interesting to see their interactions. And yeah, so he's our newest little member. I don't know how much else I can handle, but hey, why not just throw something else into the mix? All right, so now moving on to the main subject of this video, which is the tiny house slash YouTube studio. We have gotten a little bit done. We're making some progress. The first thing obviously we needed to do was install all the plumbing, which we have already shared with you all. Now the plumbing is still not connected or anything. We just have everything installed on the inside of the tiny house. So we got all that stuff. Our water heater is put in, our water filtration system is put in, and everything is stubbed up and ready to go. The only thing that was installed with the plumbing was the tub, but that's because you kind of have to do that in order to line everything up. So that was the first thing we took care of. The next thing we needed to take care of was all of the electrical. Now, all of us are going to be living here in the immediate future. We're going to be using it on a daily basis. And so we wanted to make sure that we had enough outlets and enough lighting and everything that we can possibly need, and probably then some, just to make sure that we had adequate just power throughout the entire thing. And we also were thinking about the future, the kind of equipment that I'm going to have in there when it just turns into a full-time studio. So we had to make sure that we split some electrical outlets to be dedicated for certain things. It is hot, it is muggy, and you probably are hearing our neighbor mowing right now. But if you want to see the LE in his element, this is it right here. It's almost like watching one of those National Geographic documentaries. Oh, Nelson knows exactly what he's doing. He's great. I trust him with all the electrical stuff because time and time again, we've done so many projects with electricity and they've just turned out amazing. The difficult part here was trying to figure out exactly what we needed and where. We didn't have pre-made plans for the interior of the space. I had to come up with the layout of how best I think it would function. I tried so many different layouts based on where our septic tank was going to be and where the lighting was going to be the best, and, the direction that the actual studio was going to lay on our, property. So when we finally figured out the layout, then it was like, where do we need to put what? Where are the outlets are supposed to go? Where do we need them the most? What outlets do we need to separate and make sure that they are, on their own circuit, because they might need something in the future that has a lot of power needs, and we don't want to take it away from other areas. So this is the first time that I ever had to do that myself. And we ever had to really just think about the layout of how everything was going to work. So once that was done and we went through, we made sure that we had outlets in the front that we needed for the outside porch, which eventually we'll put in. We also had to make sure that we put outlets on the outside, as well as the light boxes for the lights that go on either side of the doors. So these were just all things that we had to, come up with ourselves. Not only that, but the spacing and the height and the placement. So anyways, we came up with all that, and we finally wired everything together, and we're very happy with how everything finally laid out. So after that was done, Nelson went in and he reinforced the upper areas of the walls with 2x6s. We're going to have a front porch with a roof on it. And Nelson wanted to make sure that there was, just areas where we can install the deck roof and have it just reinforced on the interior walls of the tiny house, so that we didn't have to worry about that in the future. So that was something else that Nelson did once the electrical was done, before we even started on the insulation.
So I'm not a carpenter, so if I'm doing something wrong, whatever. He's gonna hold it up. It's not going anywhere is what they say, right?
If you see the amount of nails that he puts in this sucker, it's not going anywhere.
Oh, don't run.
Baby girl, don't run. Oh my goodness. It's shook.
Oh, looks like it's frozen. It's ice.
It does that when you try.
Ice beer. No wonder why it's so
Okay, bring it here quickly before it pops.
What
You need to open it up and let the pressure out if it started freezing. Yes.
It is frozen.
I don't know, but she shook it up, so if I gotta leave it there for a second.
It won't okay. So, babe, you think you got enough, nails in that interior support there?
This is the way.
Then we had to go into the insulation. And that was another thing that Nelson wanted to do on his own. First of all, to cut costs, because honestly, it was pretty expensive when we got the quote to have this done. And Nelson wanted to go with spray foam closed cell insulation. He wanted to do this for several reasons, and I'll let him explain.
All right, so hopefully y'all can hear me. It's raining outside. We got a tin roof, so it sounds a little bit louder. But anyways, we're about to do the spray foam insulation. And what this is, it's a two chemical process, 2 containers. And this is a DIY kit. You can get that over here.
Yep.
So it's a DIY kit that you buy. And the reason we went with this specific type of insulation is this is a closed cell insulation. And closed cell has a better R value than the fiberglass and I think rock wool, specifically to do it correctly. And it's also a vapor barrier. So typically when you add insulation, you gotta have your insulation and the vapor barrier. But with the spray foam insulation, it's a all-in-one component. As long as you make sure you spray everything correctly and there is no air gaps. Another reason we chose to do that is, I didn't want to deal with the fiberglass, get it all over yourself. It's itchy, and then you have residual stuff. Obviously, you got to wear your PPE. I have a respirator, goggles, a bodysuit that I'm going to put on that you'll see, and it goes up, sprays on, and it's also a sound insulation. So hopefully, I'll knock off what you hear here, especially when it starts raining really bad, being on top of a tin roof. But the biggest reason we chose it was because of our value. We're going to do the same thing for our house or the big farmhouse, but for that we're going to actually hire people because it's such a much bigger space, and to get a professional to come out here and do such a small unit, you don't get your money's worth because they got to pay for the travel and all that. Just to get somebody to come out here in a real rural area, doing a small cottage, it's not worth the money that it takes. So, also, the Latina engineer wanted to try something new. So it's like, if I ever get the opportunity to do new tools, new methods, or new anything, I'm all for it. Also, it gives me a greater appreciation of, what people have to do when they have to do installations of whatever kind it is. And as far as spray foam, we bought this online. We're going to link it in the description box below, and that way, if you want to try it yourself, I think it's a really good thing, especially for a small renovation, a small bathroom. You take all your sheetrock out. Are you going to hire somebody to come in and spend thousands of dollars, or buy one of these kits and do it yourself? So again, link in the description box below. So the way this works is you have a nozzle with two pipes, flexible pipes, and each one goes to each tank, and you screw each one in, and then you have different nozzles that comes with the kit. You have a cone nozzle, which, you have a cone nozzle, which is the clear one for this kit. Obviously they'll change for whatever kit you buy, but this will be just like a line, and then you have a fan nozzle. In this kit, it's a blue one, and then that gives you like a wide spray nozzle, almost like you're using a spray gun. And all you gotta do is screw them in, you put some lube inside here, and then once you connect them, you empty the lines, make sure all the components go through here. Get like a trash can. I'm just using the pack it came in. And then you put the nozzle in, spray it in until you have your continuous run, and then have at it and just start spraying. So a little kit came with a little wrench. I got these hooked up. I'm gonna go put on my suit. I'm gonna look like a fat guy in a little jacket. Hopefully I bought a big enough bodysuit last time. Like, if you saw the basement, when I painted the basement, the protective jacket was a little tight on me. So I got one a little bit bigger this time. So I don't sound like I'm doing a commercial. We're not getting paid to do this. So.
No.
Sorry, the LE sounds all professional. I'm trying to work on that. This may be an outtake, so.
I will say that ever since we put that insulation inside of the tiny house, it has made a huge difference. We can tell the difference of what it felt like before and what it felt like after. And this is even without putting the AC unit in um, as of yet. So we're really excited and we're really happy that we went with that. It went pretty fast. There was a learning curve involved, but we're very happy that we went that route. Now, if you recall, I did mention that we were going to be doing the little outside steps on the outside of the cottage. Well, that had to be put on pause because my father had the opportunity to come up here a couple of weekends, and Nelson really needed somebody to help him with the ceiling installation. That was going to be pretty difficult, and he really needed somebody else, similar height, build, and strength, all that kind of stuff, that would help him put the tongue and groove pine paneling that we had gotten when we had this built. We bought our tiny house from a Mennonite community near us. And when we were there, one of their like models, like their office was kind of set up like a model home. And they had like tongue and groove, paneling all over the walls. And Nelson really loved the look and he wanted to do the ceiling that way, which was totally fine, but we had never done that before. So when my dad had the opportunity to come up and help him with that, we went ahead and did that. We had to get the ceiling installed before we can do any like walls or anything like that. So they went ahead and pushed that in front of the little stairs to get inside of the cottage. That's why we're talking about that here. It seems like we always have a plan until something else comes up and we're like, well, we probably should do that first. So they went ahead and installed it, and it took them 2 weekends. We thought it would only take them one, but there was a learning curve involved. And at first, Nelson wanted to do really long planks, but then they realized that cutting them down a little bit shorter was going to be a little bit better and easier to work with, and it was. Also, the cool thing about these were that one side had like a beadboard type look, and the other side was flat. And we decided to go with the flat side because it looked a little bit more like shiplap, one, and two, there was a lot less lines to line up when installing them. And it was funny because Nelson was looking online and he's like, there is no good tutorials on how to install these things. So it was, kind of a learn as you go, progress. So it's done, and the ceiling now is absolutely amazing. I love the way it turned out. One of the things that was a little bit tricky is that we decided to go with a vaulted ceiling because the ceilings on here are only 7'9" in height. So they're a little tight. And in order to make the space feel bigger, Nelson, when he ordered the tiny house, he said, we want the vaulted ceilings, which is great. But the thing is that the panel width doesn't necessarily match each of the vaulted, measurements on either side. So it was going to be off either way. So we had to figure out how we were going to install these things because we couldn't just start on one end, go up, and then back down, again, because of the angles as well as the widths of each of the panels. So we had to actually start on both sides, work our way up, and then in the middle, and then work our way out, which eventually gave us 2 gaps between the right side and the left side. So then we had to come up with a solution of how to cover that up. We had some extra panels left, and what we decided was to cut them down and make use of them, obviously, because we already had them and we didn't want to have to go out and spend any more money on any other kind of trim. We cut them down and we gave them 45-degree angles on either side to make them look intentional and not like just a piece of wood there to cover something up, which turned out to be great. We were able to hide those gaps, fill them in, and make it look like the ceiling was supposed to be that way all along. Now I'm faced with whether or not to leave it like that in that color and just seal it, or if I should stain it. It looks beautiful, but I'm not into the yellow pine look. And my floors are going to be kind of a brown luxury vinyl type color. And I don't know if it would clash having like a certain kind of brown on the bottom and then having knotty pine on the ceiling that has like kind of like a yellow tint. So what do y'all think? Do y'all think we should try and stain them? I have a lot of like small pieces that I can test them on and see what I like different colors. And then we can go from there. Either way, it's got to be sealed because there's going to be a kitchen there and I'm going to be cooking and stuff. And I don't want it to, grease and steam and all that stuff to damage the ceiling. We also have to do the bathroom. So obviously with the steam and the heat there, they have to be sealed. I'm just still debating whether or not to leave it that way or to stain it. And I wouldn't go very dark. So again, I don't know. What are your thoughts? So yeah, that is it. That is what we have for you so far on the tiny house. I am so excited because now that all that is done, we can start putting up walls, we can start putting cabinets in, we can start putting our flooring in, we can start tiling, all that stuff. And things should go a little bit quicker now because I only have a little bit over 11 weeks left until we welcome our baby. So we've got to get this show on the road. I am going to let you guys go now because we are about to head out and get more supplies. So with that, I hope that you guys are doing well. Thank you so much for being here. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure you hit like and let me know what you think so far of everything that we have done in the comments below. I will see you guys very soon in our next video. Until then, adios.